right, this is video A24, number 13, and I'm going to do 18 plus 4 squared divided by -8. All right, so I have to go back and think about my order of operation, right? And so if I go back and I think really quickly, I remember it goes PEMDAS, right? So I wrote it like this because we do parentheses first, then we do exponents, then we do multiplication and division in order from left to right, and addition and subtraction in order from left to right. So I'm going to come back to this problem here, right? And I see that I have 18 plus, and then the next thing I see is I don't have any parentheses, right? This is just to tell me this number is negative. There's no operation here. It's just saying it's -8. And then, I don't have any parentheses, so I'm going to do my exponent first. So 4 squared, right, is 4 times 4, and 4 times 4 is 16. So I'm going to say 18 plus 16 divided by -8. Okay, and I look and I see that I don't have, oops, didn't want to do that. I meant to grab that. I don't have any more exponents to do. So the next thing I do is I look for multiplication and division. Well, that's addition, so I can't do that. And the next thing is division. So I'm going to do my division next. So let's go ahead and do that. So this is going to give me 18, right, plus, and 16 divided by -2. Well, the first thing I do is I decide on my sign. So I see one is positive and the other is negative. So the signs are different, right? So I know my answer is going to be a negative. And then 16 divided by 8 is 2. So I have 18 plus -2. I see once again, I'm adding these and their signs are different. So 18, the absolute value of 18 is greater than the absolute value of -2, so I keep the sign of the bigger one, so I know my final answer is positive. Since the signs are different, I'm going to subtract their absolute values, so I'm going to have 18 minus the absolute value of -2, right? So let me go ahead and write that for you. So that's going to give me 18. I know my answer is positive, so I'm going to have the absolute value of 18 minus the absolute value of -2. So that gives me 18 minus 2, which is 16. And I've already decided my answer is positive, so this is, right, my final answer to the problem. All right, so there we go. So the first thing I'm going to, so my question for you on the video quiz is going to be, the first thing I did was my exponent. How did I decide if my exponent was going to be positive or negative? If the answer was going to be positive or negative, and the answer is, right, that I had 4 squared, so I have a positive 4 times a positive 4, so I knew my answer to that had to be positive. Okay? And that takes care of that one. All right, so this is our next video, and I'm going to do number 19, which is evaluate j to the 5th power minus 5 times k for j equal -4 and k is equal to -1. But before that, I'm going to tell you what your extra credit's going to be. So your extra credit is, as I'm making this video, I told you I was watching the Ravens-Giants game. I'm still watching it, and I'm going to ask you what is the score right now, and the answer is it's Ravens 0 and Giants 7. So let's go back to our video. So here we are. The first thing I'm going to do, since it's an evaluation, right, is I'm going to put in the value here for j and then the value here for k. So let's go ahead and do that. So that's going to give us j, right, to the 5th power minus 5, and then k is -1, so let's go ahead and put in -1 for k. So once again, we go back to thinking about our PEMDAS. So our PEMDAS tells us, right, parentheses, exponents, multiplication and division in order from left to right, and addition and subtraction in order from left to right. So once again, we have parentheses, but there's no operation. It's just to tell us that that's a negative in there to help us keep track and make it look neat. So the next thing I'm going to do is my exponent, and I go, oh my goodness gracious, I have to take j to the 5th power. So that tells me, right, that I'm going to do the following. I'm going to end up with negative 4 times negative 4 times negative 4 times negative 4. What's that? 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And then I'm left with minus 5 times the value for k, which is negative 1. So let's go ahead and work our way through it. So back to our friends, all these 4s. Oops, wrong color. So, the first set of 4s, that gives me 16. And I still have negative 4, negative 4. Oops, that's a negative. Negative 4. So I still have 3 of them left, right? And then I'm going to get minus 5 times a negative 1. So now I do the next negative 4. So let's go ahead and do that. So 16 times negative 4 is going to give us a negative number, right? Because one's positive and because, right? One's positive, one's negative. The signs are different. I'm multiplying. Therefore, I know my answer is a negative, and 16 times 4 is 64. So I have 64 times, and I'm still left with 2 of these guys. Negative 4, that's a 4, guys, times negative 4, and then it's, right, minus 5 times negative 1. So I'm going to go ahead now and continue this. So I'm going to do the next group of here. So I have negative 64 times negative 4. So that's going to give me a positive number because one is positive and one is, they're both the same sign. One's negative and one's negative. Therefore, I'm going to get a positive answer this time. And so that's going to give me a positive, and 64 times 4 is 256. Oh my goodness. And that's still times a negative 4. And I have a, minus 5 times my, still carrying these guys along, times my negative 1. All right, so now let's go ahead and take this and move over to the next screen. All right, so continuing with that video, this is 256 times negative 4. So we're on our last one. So let's go ahead and finish this j to the 5th. That gives us 1,024 when we multiply them. And the signs are different, right? One's positive and one's negative. So now I know the answer to that multiplication problem right now is negative. And I still have, right, minus 5 times my, hanging on here, negative 1. All right, so now PEMDAS says I have to continue. I finished my exponent, right? There it is. There's j to the 5th, negative 1,024. And now I'm going to go down and I'm going to do my multiplication and division. So this is subtraction, but this is multiplication. So that's the next thing I'm going to do. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. So I have negative 1,020. I hate it when it does that. I'm going to make that. Oh, and then it doesn't do the right problem. Oh, piss. 124 minus. All right. Tried to get rid of that ugly 1024, and for some reason it took away something else. All right, so this is going to be, I can do this one of two ways, guys. I could say I have -5 times -1, in which case the signs are the same, right? So my answer is positive, and 5 times 1 is 5, and I can write this as a +5, or I could have said, just to show you a different way here, I could have said that this was, but they'd be equal to each other, 1024, and I could say minus, and then just be looking at the 5 times -1, in which case I would be, it would be minus a -5, which of course is the same thing as plus. So these would have given, these are the same thing, right? So those are identical. So I could have said this was a -5 times -1 and seen that that was 5. Or I could have said it was minus +5 times -1, in which case I have minus a -5, which is +5. Okay, so, oops, I did, though, forget when I rewrote this. I did forget this guy's negative. All right, so the signs are different. I'm adding them. You know, 1024 is, its absolute value is greater than 5, so I know that my answer is going to be, so I'm going to take 1024, right, and I'm going to add 5 to that. Well, I know my answer is going to be negative, and now the signs, right, the signs are different, so I'm going to subtract their absolute values. So that's going to give me, you know, the absolute value of -1024, and I'm going to subtract from that the absolute value of 5. So I'm going to end up with 1024 minus 5, which is 1019. And so my final answer is 1019. And there's the final step to the problem, right? All right, so there you go. And I think your extra credit for this one will be, since I had -4 to the 5th power, I knew I was going to get a negative answer at the end, okay? And why is that? And it's because the reason for that is when I had, here, let's just rewrite it. If I have -4, right, times -4 times -4, right, I have an odd number of signs, right? So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 negative signs, therefore I know my answer is going to be negative. If they were even, I would get a positive number, but since the number of signs I have here is odd, I know my answer is going to be odd. All right, guys, that's it for the week in videos, and you'll have your quiz tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to seeing you guys tomorrow. All right, bye-bye.